Good afternoon and welcome to our channel. Today, we're going to discuss some housing solutions for you guys. So, with the modern times changing, a lot of you have been involved in rentals, Section 8, but I think it would be quite appropriate to discuss some further options out there. Now, to be clear, this video is really designed for those that are on subsidies, housing, and Section 8. If you're not in that arena, this may not be an appropriate video for you, but you're welcome to stick around because I'm going to talk about federal policy and state policy regarding many types of housing. Just making myself clear, this isn't a tiny home video exclusively for the open market. We're going to talk about people in, again, Section 8 HUD and programs as alternatives and federal rules to it. Okay. So that being said, a few introductions. My name is Jay. I am the owner of Section8Consulting.com. It's really cool today down south, and I'm wearing my beach shirt with a leather jacket, right? So I want it to be warm, but I don't want it to be too cold. So I've got some exciting news. We got the cooperation of HUD, and I've got the counselor's guide for this, okay? So many of you have searched endlessly in terms of Section 8 participants and so on. It took me a while. I had to pound them with a lot of FOIAs and legal requests to be able to get what the PHAs get. Because keep in mind, your local public housing authority they're not very preferential to giving you guys information. So now that I've got the edict from the feds for them, except I have their manual now, and I'm going to release that to the general public. Just another black eye for them, because every PHA or public housing in America could do this, but they seem to enjoy quite indenturing the low income seniors, veterans, and so on, and they don't want to tell you anything other nonsense. So we're going to set the record straight today. But before I do, good morning to our live viewers. Today I've become a little more organized, so this morning I spent some time and I wanted to help you guys out. A lot of you want to know about how to subscribe our memberships to our channel and how to get updates and news, kind of like you get on Facebook. So I'm going to link up that information now. It's quick links, so you no longer have to search around and figure it out. So let's see if it'll allow me to put it all in here. No, it won't. So I'll do link by link. Maybe I'll do two at a time and then the last one. So to subscribe to the channel, link, and if you want to become a member of the channel, that'll be the first two links. If it lets me. Oh, goodness. I'll get better at this in the next couple of videos. So there's our first two links. YouTube, subscribe, and the next one's going to be for that. So, all right, last one up, our community page. Look, guys, you want to know what's going on, what we're talking about, news and updates. It's not a video. This is a much simpler way to do it. Again, YouTube has a community page in everybody's channel, and it works just like Facebook. You put your photos and stuff in there. Linking that up. So there you go. Now you can subscribe or become a member if you wish, and of course get news and updates, because I often publish a lot of interesting things on our community page, though it seems more like Facebook. All right, and also, by the way, membership and subscribing helps you come back if you like another video, okay, or be notified much quicker. All right, let's get on with this. So I'm going to go ahead and link up the document we're going to be discussing so you guys can follow along. And here we go. And you can hit notifications, as one member said. Look, guys, I've made videos for 15 years. I made probably now, I'm approaching 2,000. I've never asked anybody to press every button in the channel. A lot of people do that. It's extremely annoying. Please like everything. Please subscribe to everything. Please mash every button in the channel. And, after you spend a half hour doing all that jazz, I've never done that. I'm just for my elderly folks and people that are older that don't necessarily know how to navigate easily. I'm posting these links because it's been requested, but I'm not going to start doing that. I think people know in the modern age, if they want to stay here on the channel, they can do so. All right, going on. So that link that I just put down there, that is for housing counselors directly, but now I'm making it available to you. So under present rules, they're trying to change things. So first up, tiny homes. Unless it is over 400 square foot sitting on concrete, then it cannot be, you cannot use your voucher for it. Let me explain why and why we need to change this. It's to protect you guys out there with vouchers that deal with landlords that would put you in their garden shed. Okay, that's why there are people out there that would put you in a broom closet if they could, and then accept your payment for that. The thing is, at the time when they designed these laws under Code of Federal Regulation, they hadn't considered that what would happen if we get into an extreme housing market. Well, there's no housing available, and everybody's rents are absurd. And so I think we're starting to look at that at the congressional level, and maybe we can divide the law in half. We can keep that part, but the exception being is if the person with a housing voucher is able to purchase their tiny home, then we can make an exception because if you're tortured by that, then it's your own fault, and so therefore shouldn't be a big issue, right? And so that should be something that's I believe is going to be becoming available fairly soon. So tiny homes may become available. It's not yet. So 401 feet is what you need, and you're going to have to keep the concrete man out there. And to be honest with you, it'll run you about $500 to $800 for a slab of concrete. Okay, but the exact builder codes would be required to the city. But that's about what you need. Okay, and if you really wanted to be smart about that, you can lay a slab, put the tiny home on top of it, and just put some skirting around. They don't need to know there used to be wills there, okay? These are not the brightest bulbs. We're talking about PHA employees, okay? I'm going to go ahead and say that they have the same wisdom as the Fry Daddy girl at the McDonald's, okay? So they're not going to take a flashlight and go under to see whether or not that tiny home's on concrete, okay? They just need to see a slab. And I know some of you guys are thinking of smart terms. Why don't I just do a square box of concrete around there? Yeah, well, all right, so moving on from tiny homes. One thing I want to say about that, the market in the beginning, let's go back 2005. Great idea. It was meeting a solution and a demand that we need. And what I'm seeing is kind of frightening. Like all housing methods, tiny houses have gone from just ordinary and a solution and help with housing, and now it's turned into a luxury market. In other words, the wealthy and the rich and investors have now gotten their sticky hands involved in this. And a lot of the tiny homes, while you used to be, 5, 10,000, even 15,000, now what I'm seeing is super luxury, tiny homes. So now they bought into this, they're owning all the websites, they're driving the prices now. And of course, I knew this would happen. This is what the wealthy do. They want to ensure the only people they can serve is the wealthy. And so a lot of the tiny houses I'm seeing now are sort of rocking $100,000, okay, per broom closet. All right, we're putting in gold toilets. It's just we're reaching a point where the tiny house market, if you buy one from another person or company, that it may not be a viable solution anymore. Okay, so I don't know. Many might argue that point with me, but go look at the tiny homes online and tell me how that's reasonable. Then we get into molecular homes. You purchase a home from China, it comes on the hot boat down here to the U.S., and overnight you've got that. That could work, but there are specific rules behind that. You can buy them for as low as I think 10,000, and they're getting cheaper. I guess the people in there in Asia are just not being paid very much, or it doesn't cost much to do it. So there's a possibility there, but what you're not counting for is by the time you connect utilities, water, and everything, it gets expensive, and so that's not really a real solution. It's a real solution for people that make a modest income, not low income. So I'm not sketching molecular off of there unless you've got a family to help you with funding. Okay. Moving on from there, RV market. They don't like RVs. Okay. And most RVs are not considered long term. But in my opinion, RVs and travel, specifically travel trailers, not RVs where you have a living space on top of a truck, but a travel trailer, in my opinion, is the most affordable housing option on the market, whether it's short or long term. Why do I say that? Well, after the pandemic, all our travel trailer makers out there, they were flooding the market with them, and they were making mountains of gold off of it. Okay, and then the pandemic ended, and it ended slowly, right, in terms of money and people spending. And so now in 2025, the market has fallen out under that deal. They cannot give these things away. And many of them are extreme luxury, of course. And so what I'm seeing right now, because I'm getting ready to retire, me and my 5 cats, we're getting in the RV. We're going to connect to the back of the truck, and we're going to travel up and down the West Coast, through everywhere from New Mexico, Arizona, through California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, maybe even to Montana, and just enjoy the natural beauty of the U.S. And while I do that, I was wondering if I could even afford to get in the market. And so I looked at all the variations between RVs and travel trailers. Turns out travel trailers right now, you can buy some of the really nice ones starting around 10,000 and up to around 22,000. Now there's some that are really expensive, but those are the companies and dealerships that haven't got the message. The market fell out. So these same RVs going for 13 used to be 20, 30,000. We're talking about marble top, full kitchens, full shower, leather sofas, damn near king size bed, 20-foot long, and 13K. I'm sorry. Even if I was low income and I had to do this, I had to save just $80 a month. I would sure as hell do it because it would give you the freedom that you're looking for. Now, if you were a good steward of that RV in your vehicle, as big as it is, I mean, those things they got a lot of square footage. It's not like you're in a cracker box. If you're a good steward of that RV, though it's not designed for long term, and you keep your repairs and you continue to maintenance properly and check your roof, make sure there's no holes, and just keep things up good, that RV can last you probably till you die. But for many of you, it'd probably be wise to, after about 5 to 10 years, to exchange it, sell it, and then get into another one. It's a lot better than being indentured by a voucher, and that cost is nuts low. I mean, you can work at the dollar store, put back a little bit within 2 years. You're on top of that because the RV market is in shambles, and those RVs, and not only the RVs have no rent, but many of the national parks will let you stay 2 weeks at a time. No cost to you, other unless you connect to their power and facilities. And let's think of a few other things. If you spend a little extra, you can buy 450-watt solar panels, so you could really power that. The whole roof of that RV could be nothing but solar panels. Nobody could see. Hopefully, you're not anywhere near a hailstorm, but you see my point. It can generate enough power there, and of course, water is not a big issue. You can connect to that, and there are places where you can park temporarily. They can empty facilities and so on. Now, again, many will argue that's not a long-term solution. Well, you know what? We've got a lot of people that are living in the forest, living in tents. Do you think that's a solution? How about the scabies at the homeless shelter? Doo-doo stains on the bed and sheets. Is that a better logical solution to an RV that you own, that you owe no rent on, that you own no power? You got your freedom. If that town and county don't like your homeless ass being in an RV, you move it to the next state. You can go anywhere you wish, as long as you're going to be a good steward of the RV or travel trailer. The reason I'm making travel trailers is because they're not that expensive right now. They're pretty much giving them away. They've gotten to such a bad point. They're actually the big RVs where you actually have the vehicle in front and the thing on back, where it's not a travel trailer. It's a whole solution, a truck, and those things are $100,000. They're dropping them, so they can't give them away for $30K now. So you could end up driving around in the same thing Beyonce's driving. Though I don't like having that connected, because you really want your independence where you can kind of park your travel trailer and then unhitch and then go do your business. I don't really want to drive around in a school bus. So in most people's lives, this may not make a lot of sense, but for those out there, roughly 10 million or so people that are homeless or next to it, this makes a whole lot of sense. It makes a whole lot better sense than sleeping under a bridge, being indentured to a homeless shelter. It makes better sense than you being dealing with family members that would prefer to drive you crazy. You have your freedom and your independence. You can seek out resources. I mean, literally, you could hit a different county every week, every third day. I won't do it. And the resources in different places, it gives you freedom. It brings you control your journey, not people that want to shove religion down your throat at the shelter. And the reason I have a problem there, I haven't any problem with religion. I have a problem with homeless shelters saying they're religious when they're serving the devil, right? Taking all the money, and then they hand out their dirty clothes to you and call it helping you and serving you week old food. So this is a solution, in my opinion. Well, the market's like that. It is, this RV market will likely be that way for a while. So I'm trying to open your mind. Now let's talk about homesteads and off grid. For those of you a little bit more advanced, maybe you've still got some family out there that's willing to fork out a few dollars for you. Look, there are a lot of places in our nation, our great nation, where land and property don't cost that much. And even in the state of Florida, they're considering no tax. If Florida is the first state to fold, the domino falls, because they're talking about it, the governor's talking about zero property tax, might be a good place to go if you're on the northern side of Florida, the panhandle part. Okay, when you get down to big cities, it's all crazy out there, and it won't work out too well. So but a lot of states have very little property tax. Once you get an oil driller, 3,500 to $8,000 out there, you have permanent water for the rest of your life. Okay, that solves the water bills gone. You set up you little by little, year by year, you add a new panel, 450, get up to 20. You'll never need the energy company again. Okay. So you see, all grid has not been about being batshit crazy in the forest and being antisocial. It's about cutting the government cord, with a little lot. And look, you can buy land in Arkansas for $500, about a half acre. That land with a well, okay, and some solar panels you're saving up, you've got almost damn near independence there, okay? And with that, food. Look, I know we're all a little bit overweight as Americans. We don't want to get out there and garden, but if it cuts your grocery bill by half, and not to mention it's your land. I mean, you can fish and hunt as well, right? So you could find your freedom from food. Who needs a food stamp card when you literally own property that could serve you? Yeah, you're going to want to go to a grocery store because you're not going to want to whip up a bottle of ketchup or mayonnaise, but if you can cut the vast majority of these cords, that it gives you not only social freedom, but you can retire in peace. And if you're like many of my clients at our company at section8consulting.com, you're probably averaging a check between 900 to 1,200. If you're in a moderate range, you're probably up to around 1,500. If you're in the extreme range, you could be above 2,000, as much as 35, which is very rare. But I've had a few clients that were up there, and I was wondering why they were calling me, to be honest. But even they understood that amount of money in the future may not go far enough. Considering these options, we come back to mobile homes. Mobile homes are still a good option to use, okay? But it requires a lot of things. You're connected in the city, you're going to have a plumber and blah, blah, blah. And so if you're even considering a trailer, you can own the trailer, then you got the property tax, so on. So that could be a solution for those in a modest range of retirement income or low income. But you're going to have to parse it out over years, okay? That's hard, I know. First, you're trying to purchase the land in a place where you can get it for a couple grand. Okay. And then next you're trying to set it up. So you're planning, okay, well, this quarter I'm going to save enough to get the plumber out there. Maybe I'll visit the church and ask if anybody there is a plumber and become a member of that church. Churches are great places, not only to serve the Lord, but you can also talk to people there. And many of our contractors might just be willing to help you out. Okay. You guys need to remember this. Church community of people that are willing to help. Okay. I know that. I've been a member in many places in this nation, and they were the greatest benefit to me. But you shouldn't go there if that's all you want. Okay. Don't go use people. Moving on from there. So we have the mobile homes, we have tiny homes, we have RVs, as we had mentioned, as a solution. And the rich have not gotten into the game, or they have. But the nice thing about RVs there's a high range stuff that's for the wealthy. They have the low range, and under a depressed market, which will likely exist for the next 5 years, you guys get the stuff for a song and a dance. I mean, they literally have 3-year-old trailers that have never been sold that can't give the shit away. I mean, other than taking it back to be crushed, it's talking about, even if it's 3 years old and still new, my God, I don't care. I'll take it for 8K. Look, when they rolled it out the door, it was 35. You go in there, it looks fine to me. It sure beats the shit out of that tent in the homeless shelter. And while $8,000 may seem like a lot when you ain't got nothing, it's a hell of a way to work yourself up, because that's achievable for many of you. It's got to be achievable. I don't care if you got to sit down and put a $5 bill every third day into a jar. I would sure as hell find my exit plan. Okay, because every other option too, that's absurd. So let's talk in terms of HUD and Section 8. As of right now, Section 8 is not allowing most of this, okay, except for the exclusions for tiny homes and mobile homes. But my concern there is not going to be a good option for those of you that are in a lower range, 900 to 900 to 1200. Okay, you'd be more feasible in the RV circumstance for your freedom and independence. So these are alternative methods. Now, I do believe that before this administration ends, the Trump administration, HUD could very well reverse many of the rules regarding this because, look, a lot of these protections, a lot of these laws were created back when we had to protect renters from moving people renting out the chicken shed to people. Okay, they never considered that people might actually want to actually live in an RV, live in a tiny home, stuff like that. And so they could keep the same rules, just put the exception is if you buy it and it's yours, then it may work out, and it may be a big solution for many of you that or you're a family or a friend of somebody that has mental health or other issues where they no longer have to be indentured or evicted. So RB solutions, small home solutions, family chipping in and getting that part of them means they have their privacy and nobody can evict them except for you because materially you're the one that have purchased it and likely the landlord because they're disabled. And so this is a real solution. And so I'm hoping that Scott Turner at HUD, which is the director, as well as the Trump administration, will consider adding some additional language to allow several of these options. Even in the low income fields, we have moderate income, low income, and extreme low income. And in terms of talking about this, we're also talking about just about every senior in America. If you're a senior with a lot of money, I think that's fantastic. But many are not in the same circumstance. Many more have lost their husband and other people in their life. And so while their future was secured for a while, it's no longer that way. And many of you aren't even on use Section 8. You're too ashamed to do it, or maybe you believe there's, you've heard too much bad news about that. So I just wanted to present some listing ideas. I'm not a poor person. I'm not a rich person either, okay, by any means. If I'm willing to take me and 5 cats and travel the nation, for a year or even a decade, or maybe permanently, and it's a solution for me, then how bad could it be? Okay. Now, I do understand that tribal trailers are not designed to last forever. For those of you that live up north where you expect temperatures to reach below freezing on a frequent basis, you want to make sure that your tribal trailer is all season and make sure that you actually sit down with your eyeglasses and a cup of coffee and read every manual. Make it a mission. This is your life. Don't blow it off. It's everything in this life's about taking absolute responsibility. That's why I'm always surprised when people buy things and destroy it and just think somebody else is going to fix their problems. You cannot even venture to even think about doing any of this unless you're willing to defend not only your freedom, but lack of being indentured to a housing authority and playing all the games that are necessary to continue to keep a voucher. Does anybody really want to continue to do that? The future's a tough place. Builders only build homes for the rich now. They have no interest in low-income housing. Cities are becoming overpopulated, and a lot of you can't even afford to rent the master bedroom closet. Rents are now the cost of, the rents are crazy. Look at Japan. People living in coffins over there almost. You don't think we're not going to reach that point? So 20-foot RV with middle class standard in it, I don't think it's too damn bad of an idea, even if the damn thing doesn't last forever. It can last a lot longer and take care of it. And I think it's a real solution because it's the one market the wealthy haven't been able to attack. But it takes some learning and planning and so on, but I think it's a good option. I think tiny homes for those at 1,500 or better that have a support network and possibly members of the church can help with some of the things that are necessary to help planning and installation. And off-gridding and mobile homes are for top tier because that's a bit of an expensive affair. You could end up blowing $20,000 just getting a kick out on land, driveway, the culvert and everything else goes, you drill it for water, this and that. There's a lot to it. So that's for the higher tier, in my opinion. But anybody believes they can do it. But the game is you got to do this before things go up again. Okay. Anytime you don't have to, and by the way, travel trailers don't have property tax. They don't have a rent bill either. And you don't have to go live in some damn park, okay? There are many states where, like Montana and other places, there's so much open land that you can pretty much park it anywhere, though you have to be respectful in that nature. And of course, occasionally you're going to have to hit the travel trailer park to unload sewage and, fill up your water and so on. But imagine your bills being $50 for the month. Okay, imagine that one. And for those who can get up to the tiny house part, you can grow food and go a little further. So each solution there offers a little bit more. You got wind energy, but I don't recommend riding around in a travel trailer with a windmill on top. Okay, I'm sure it's possible, but when you get up north, there's a lot of bridges real low. It might knock that down, but you could find a great deal of independence. It's just you, the road, and where you wish to go, and it appeals to me because I like to go pan and the mountains. And I love the mountains. I love the snow. I love the fact that there's not a bunch of rude people out there, and I won't get shot in traffic. And I love the fact that I can put GPS collars on my cat, and I can give them the same freedom. I don't need to put them in a chicken cage. I won't do that. I'm not going to tie them to a string either. And so GPS, if I don't know where they are, I have to put my phone, and I can just follow it, and I'll be there with the cat shortly. Now, my cats understand when it's time to go, it's time to go. And so that's perfect. I can walk up in the middle of nowhere in the mountains at 8,000 feet, and I guarantee I'll find my cats within 5 minutes. Though we're not going to do that at night because I'm not trying to make my cats snacks for the wolves and everybody else or the polar bears. So I will, of course, use common sense. And when I'm in Arizona, I have scorpions and rattlesnakes, right? So there are certain places you have to be ultra careful and monitor everything. But outside of those special features, when you know it's safe, and then you can let your cats wander a bit. So beyond that, travel trailers, tiny homes, mobile homes, and HUD homeownership is approved, of course, but it locks you into one play, and it still gives the housing authority some control over you till the term of the note. And then, of course, they eventually, if you on a 15-year mortgage, they'll pay halfway through that and then cut you loose, and then you're on your own paying everything, and it exits you from the system. Now they're talking about 50-year notes. Banks will just love that for you guys to go, yes, can I get a 100-year note? Can I just look? You know what that is? You just made the U.S. government your landlord. Okay, that's all you've done. You've indentured yourself for a lifetime. You've indentured even the people that will inherit that shitty house. You go get yourself a 50-year note, you've lost your mind. Okay, I think the 30-year notes were ideal back in the day, 50s, 60s, 70s, possibly early 80s. They're getting to where they're not worth it, right? It'd be preferred anybody doing a 15-year note. But a 50-year note, let's examine the thought of that process. If a 30-year note, you take out a 30-year note on a house with interest, at the end of that, if you pay it all off, a $350,000 house costs you $500,000. $150,000 you gave to the bank for being a good girl. Imagine a 50-year note. Okay, you're double bubble. You might as well go visit the drug dealer because you're giving money away. You're going to end up at 700,000, and the bank takes half. That's called being a prostitute. You'll sign your name on a 50-year note. Look, if I was your child, I'd disown your ass because, first of all, I wouldn't want to inherit some shit like that because then I'd have to pay that stupid, crazy note. I don't care if it's 3%, you half a century notes, and we're actually considering this. This is the final kick in on low income people, the final suckering game. Let's get them tied in a 50-year note so we can rob them blind. We can rent them a house. That's all you're doing is you're renting a house, man. By the time you pay property tax, everything else in a 50-year note, you might as well walk down the light and start turning tricks because ain't nobody gonna want to pay that shit for 50 years. Okay, I hate to be so savage about it, but really, and of course, in 2030, we may even find it logical to do 80-year notes, So the baby will need a mortgage from the day it takes a breath. And don't plan on dying early because they'll sue everybody in the family for the note. So I advise you don't let your children take your last name either. 50-year note's a horrible idea. It'd be better to go to a loan shark in New York, go see the mafia, get you a note that way, okay? You'd have a better time with that than you would a 50-year note. So I'm just being upfront with you, okay? So, again, the purpose of the video was to introduce concepts here. I'm not an expert in tiny homes. I'm not an expert in general homes. I own them. I am an expert in the Section 8's HUD Homeownership program. But I just wanted to present some ideas and concepts to see whether or not any of you that are participating in federal programs, maybe even homeless coming out of it, if there was a possible any last solution. I would have brought up boat homes, but that was one of the original ideas of people a long time ago. And unfortunately, living on boats is an expensive affair these days because they figured out how to rent docks and everything else. So the last thing on the market left that's still touchable by low income, extreme low income, and even homeless, in my opinion, would be RVs. And you're in the best market for that because the prices, the market fell out. They can't give these things away. They're stuck with nearly half the stock. You can check on YouTube. You can see a lot of dealerships can't give them away. I mean, literally, you got RVs been sitting in the lot for 3 years. It's still brand spanking new. Ain't even took the plastic off the toilet seat. Can't give it away. Okay, it's even worse down south. Now I know you northern folks out there, you're used to the price gouge. In California, they sell you gold dip doo-doo, so I get it. I would go ahead and drive through California and New Mexico and Arizona and come down south a little bit more, maybe Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and pick you up one there on Facebook Marketplace, okay? But I think these are great or presentable options when you compare it to what the alternative is. You can be in a transitional house, okay? You can share rooms with somebody. You can live in the shelter and get scabies, or you can do a little drugs with all the other nuts in there and get drunk and then have people throw you out. The other option, you can stay on your family's couch if you can bear dealing with being controlled. Many people can't stand it. So outside of that, you can grab you a voucher and then live in a complex with a bunch of other angry, pissed off people with loud children, barking dogs, gunshots, meth, and crack whores. But I will say, to the merit of HUD, there are lots of properties that don't act that way, and you could find a private landlord. But so, look, anytime you can control your world, okay, and then you actually can step into something that looks like a Manhattan hotel because it's uppity class travel trailer, and all you got to do is connect it on the back of your V6 or V8, uh, and you got a marble top kitchen. That's absurd. And for $13K, okay, how could you even? Why would you even bother staying in this apartment complex? I mean, and by the way, the national park rules, you park there 2 weeks. And of course, your hookups cost you, but I mean, you got hookups there, you can pay that $1,300 in rent, right? Yeah, fill up, turn energy, and you got generators in your trailer. And I told you about solar. You're disconnecting a bit, so it's a bit of an adventure. But hell, if you're willing to survive what Section 8's about to give you, or continue to live in it, if you manage to get through all that drama and see all that it's really had to offer, how much worse could it be to grab a $13,000 RV, connect to the back of your card, and just have absolute freedom and nobody breathing down your neck? And there's no rent check. There's no electric bill with solar panels, right? Uh, Maybe a water bill till you figure that out. But how would you like to see your Social Security check and the only thing you got to buy is your blood pressure pills, right? So consider the option. It may be extreme. Yeah, it requires planning. You're not going to just jump into this. And, to be a responsible steward of something like that and understand laws and rules and learn how to drive an RV. That's a thing. But it's still it's a hell of a lot better. If I brought an RV to a homeless person with a vehicle on it, he would jump at that. You think he wants to live in the forest? So we as Americans, we get older, we got to quit being set in our ways. We want comfortable. We got to connect ourselves to to the game here in the U.S., to live in the complex and all that. Try to disconnect it and be a little brave, see if it's within your heart to do it, because if you can, then there's a whole world available to you. You may end up retiring in that circumstance and traveling the country and having the best part of your life. Why do you think so many seniors hop in these expensive RVs to go around the country? Because they're trying to experience the best part of life outside of being young. So it could be that damn bad for those of you that are low income. Yeah, car costs money, costs insurance. You got to have gas, but it's still better than the rent bill. It's still better than the rent bill. Ain't nobody wants to pay the rent and have $1 left. Okay. So this allows you the opportunity to see the country, see all 4 seasons, all the beauty it has to offer, and no rent. Okay. No power. Cut all these bastards off to suck the life out of every one of us. We're paying for water they suck out the ground, guys. Okay. If you get a tiny home, you can suck your own water out of there. You ain't gonna pay anybody. Between 5 and 20 solar panels at 450 watts, you'll never pay the electric man again, ever, for any reason. And with a garden, you can tell the grocery store to kick rocks, because the only thing you need from them is probably condiments and, of course, your meats. And if Momo's got a shotgun, she can hit the deer, the turkey, the rabbit. There's lots of things you can do if you have a little bit of property, and not to mention the fishing reel. There's lots of ways, guys. We've forgotten what our ancestors have done. In the last 150 years, we have really forgotten. Do you think all the people that came from Europe and Africa and Asia that arrived in America 200 years ago went down to the gave AT&T a call and got their telephone turned on? Do you think them Westerners that roll wagons over the valleys and throughout the Midwest, do you think they called the city to connect their water and their power? Do you think they did all that? We simply forgot what it means to be human. Now we pay for all these conveniences, and we get scared if we can't get our own water. Oh my God, I got to buy it in a bottle. And half the states in the north, like Montana, you can drink out the stream if it's on a spring. Okay, please don't go and cup your hands in every stream out there. Not all streams in the mountains are clean, but you see my point. We've forgotten how to survive. And it's not even survival. It's really, with all the modern convenience we have, if you go and do something like this, it's not about survival. It's about living. This is why me and my cats are doing this, because I've been in the system we're in, and now I'm retiring, and I want to experience the world as it is, not the concrete jungle, not the game, the regime, the gas station, the grocery store. Go back home and die in my house, choke on all the big trash, have to polluted water, fluoridated water. I like to go clean water, and pay the energy company $500-600 for power. Pay the grocery store whatever nutbag price they want. Here's a tomato, $3. Are you out your tree? I can grow a bunch of those. And look, you can grow gardens during the winter if you know how to create a greenhouse. You dig down 4 foot, okay, and you put the greenhouse at the top. It'll keep a garden going all year round, okay. So I mean, there are all kinds of solutions out there. Now, me and my cats aren't going to grow gardens, but man, I can't wait. I mean, go to all these national parks, just freedom. Nobody bothered me other than police. Hey, what are you doing driving here? Trying to give me tickets. And I know what I'm going to do with those tickets. The minute the cop leaves, I'm going to throw them out the fucking window, because, look, I'm going one direction. No, I'm not going to do that, because you can clearly get arrested these days. I think all these cops that are connected now, that'd be terrible. I'd be in Montana, and then I got an outstanding ticket. And they're like Texas. They'll arrest you out here for a parking ticket. You don't pay it, you go to jail. So got to pay the ticket, unfortunately. So I guess I better learn how to drive. And I better learn how to drive by the rules in all these states I plan on crossing, right? All right, I'm going to go ahead and do some comments, and I'm going to head out for the day, because I got to pick up lunch, and I'm going to go see my rescue cat we got. I don't know if you heard about that. Some crazy person threw their kitten out the window at the gas station. They were driving about 35 to 45 and launched her out the window into a ditch. Now I got a cat with a spiral fracture to her, I think, femur leg, or the upper part of the leg, and she's partially deaf from that now. And so she's been at the vet, so I'm going to go up her and see her. You could tell, And she's been a good Kiki. I brought her home, and she was grateful. She slept on me. She was in an awesome amount of pain. But that cat's motor went all night long. So I could always, that's what it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be a human when you could be in service to somebody that appreciates your ass. I'm sure I've made a friend for life, and she'll be grateful. And so I'm gonna go up see her today, so she's not lonely. It's tough being in the the cages they have at the Bits office, but with that kind of injury, you can't have her popping around like popcorn. But I got a surprise for her here, and I'm going to thank many of you donors tonight on our community page that donated here and there to our GoFundMe for that. I'm not trying to solicit anything from anybody. I have my own money. I can take care of my own business. I put that out there for people that had requested it. Okay, so don't think I'm trying to shake everybody down here. All right, so let's go back on comments here. There are a lot of them. Sheila Davidson, hello, good morning. Holding GM, good morning. Preppy Princess, welcome back. Good morning. Carlos Sims, good day. Yes, absolutely. Good afternoon. Muskogee Land, thanks for joining us again, watching Homeownership. Yeah. I made a video about that recently. Holding West Coast here. I love your West Coast. I'm about to make friends with the West Coast. And many of you, when I retire January 1st, I'll be doing consulting part-time. I'll let my staff go. Doing short calls and short-term casework, like 6 months. You'll be able to not only consult, but you'll consult me. We'll be consulting in the mountains, man. I'll show you all the snow, the rivers, everything. This channel is going to get a lot more interesting when I start driving, because a lot of what many of you have probably always wanted to do, you'll be able to see it through our channel. And our channel will be an inclusion of half of what housing requirements under federal law, and the other half will just be me traveling the country. And I'll be diplomatic. I know you guys are here for information, not my wild adventures with my cats across the country, but at the very least, I think some of you do enjoy it. All right, moving on from there. Maggie Smith, building out my 2400 minivan. That's actually, I forgot to bring that up about minivans, so I'm going to bring that in the next video. Minivans and buses. Let me tell you a quick story, guys. Our family isn't super religious, but we do have one aunt, okay? So I'm going to tell you some things that you may find interesting or fascinating, and for many others, you may actually relate to it. So the Roulettes in Baton Rouge, our family owns Roulettes Electric Company. We own a lot of property, land, and other things out there, and there are several streets even named after us. I'm not great friends with my family, and most of them are gone at this point, including my mother, my father, and everybody else. But what I was going to say is we had Aunt Ellen. Aunt Ellen was the most kind woman you'd ever meet. She was highly religious. And much like our family, there were a lot of kids. She had a kid starting, I think, in 85, and she kept on. And the last total count I got was about 13 children. Every single one of those kids, they lived in a school bus converted. I remember my grandmother, which she's from Germany. She's German. She's a Steiber. And my grandfather being a Frenchman. They used to travel down there and help them, and had a little land, so they were off grid. All the kids were raised on a bus. Eventually that grew, and of course kids got old enough, and of course they built a house. We're talking about people who had nothing, okay? And they chose it that way. They chose to live with God's green earth without handouts and everything. They made it, and they had help, okay? So this wasn't a total they went out there and did what they want. But on my grandfather's side, there were 21 children. My grandmother's side, there were 18. So anybody wants to say black folks can have babies and Mexican people have babies, don't forget the white folks. Because look, we had a rich people like rabbits, man. I don't have any kids, but 21. So you go down to the gymnasium. That's where we had to hold that family convention. You see all these little sawed-off bastards in there. That's all the Frenchmen in the family, right? Because they're not very tall people. I was so thankful my mother decided to mate with somebody over 5 foot, because I didn't want to be that short. So anyways, I'm being a little bit funny and a little bit rude, I guess. But of course, my grandma was top of all of them. Then you got my aunt, she's got 12, 13 children. So You know, saying if you had Thanksgiving in our family, the bill would have been about $2,000. Okay, we had a big family house out there as well. Grandparents, the house about 8 bedrooms, but it wasn't some fancy thing. It was their original house. They just kept building on additional rooms because my grandfather expected everybody to come out to the 5 acres, and the family continually went through some turmoil or drama, right? So at one time or another, almost every aunt, uncle, and cousin, and baby and child at some point reached damn near homelessness, and so the house just kept growing, on this property. It's no longer there. I checked the Google map, and I felt like part of my existence had been wiped because the house was gone. And so were so many memories of going there because, man, when we met on that property, it looked like a Walmart parking lot. And so those days where families, when the hierarchy of the family required everybody's ass be there, you were going to be there or you was going to get square, okay? And so that's how shit ran for a long time. But that art's been lost with us as Americans. But I thought I brought it up, bring it up, keep in mind, I am adopted, so I'm not a real roulette. Never wanted to be one, okay? But my mother was, and so it's interesting. But it reminds me because we're talking about the virtue of a subject matter that I understand just through our own family, and though my grandfather was a wealthy man and had a lot and was well known in both politics, he was a well known Republican too. And he gave a lot of money to the Catholic school, and a lot of our children went to the school, whether they were stupid or not. They tried that with me. I didn't fare too well in private schools like that. I couldn't cooperate and act right, so they had to stick me in public school. That's where the only place you could put a trailer park kid. You can't put us in a private school. But I turned out all right. It only took about 30 years to straighten out. But I was thinking about that the other night, and of course, with bringing up this video, I'm as close to where many of you are as any of us can imagine. We're all just one moment from something, from some disaster, from some financial ruin. It's not that hard to go from 0 to 60. So for those of you out there that think I'm just talking, look, I left home at 16. I was on the streets for 10 years homeless. Now I'm one of the most well-known consultants in the country in terms of Section 8. I literally had a woman come in my channel and ask me who the hell I was and what authority that I had to speak on Section 8, despite posting all her credentials, state, federal, county. And this crazy bitch had the nerve, after I've sit there 26 years, full-blown website, recognized by law firms, recognized by the news, and she came here and questioned my integrity. And you see, this is why I'm often bittersweet in my videos, because I have to deal with people that clearly do not have all their screws tightened in their head. And I'm okay with that. A lot of my clients we have, roughly 40% of them have mental health issues, and I'm okay with that. I tell them, look, if you're gonna freak out and have schizophrenia, I'm okay with that. Just put down the telephone, and when things get good for you again, then call me. What you don't want to do is get on the phone with me when you know you're in freak out mode, okay? I always admire my clients. I don't mind it. I'm one of the few consultants that deal with people that have mental health and disabilities, including slow learners, slow talkers, slow thinkers, can't remember. I deal with that. It does challenge me. A lot of other consultants will hang up on you. They won't even deal with you. So I've put in a lot. You can see the rings under my eyes, man. I deal with a lot of personalities, but I love people. And I don't want people to leave this whole world without a home. I don't want their last memory of their life on earth to be treated like shit in a shelter, given up on, thrown on the street, and lost. That should never be the plan for any human being, including children or disabled. I've never understood that, Hell, I worry about cats, dogs, and pets. I worry about those things. I pass them up because I know how easy it is to help people, that want to be helped. It's not necessary to die completely alone and destitute. And so I've tried to prevent as much as I can, but unfortunately, I've got to live a life a little bit. So I have to reduce the amount of things that I do for people and get rid of all the stuff I own and go out there and see the world I've been preaching about. I saw it when those 10 years I was out there. I traveled across about 6 to 10 states, and I saw it, but it wasn't from a fun perspective. Sleeping on a hard asphalt behind a dumpster is not fun. Staying in homeless shelter like the Memphis Union Mission, Houston Union Mission, I could name off the shelters this day. I traveled from Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, all the way to Atlanta, Georgia. Then I went back from there up to Chicago, Illinois. I went across to Seattle, Washington. I came down, I landed in San Francisco. That was fun there, but impossible. So, I mean, literally saw a lot of the world and people. And what I noticed was everybody minded their own business. Nobody's willing to help. Nobody wants to get involved. Most of the nonprofits and homeless shelters are an absolute joke. They don't care about anybody there. You think humans are so stupid they don't understand when the only reason you're doing something for them is because you have to or because the government paid you. That'd be your shelter, most nonprofits. The only one that I saw that had any integrity whatsoever was Catholic Charities. That is the only one. And I've tried to advocate extremely hard to prevent a lot of my own clients and you guys from getting wrapped up in these organizations, some of them that say they're religious, they're not. Okay, just because they kneel across the wall don't mean they're not serving the devil in there. And what I see in my career now, going on 26 years from homelessness to this, is I see a lot of evil, misintent, politicizing, and victimizing people already a victim. So let me be honest at the end of my career what I think about that. And so I hope President Trump and every president after him consider these options. It's hard to see through the eyes of a homeless person. It's hard to see the eyes through a person. You got people, man, their houses burned down because of forest fire. The minute you become homeless, it no longer matters that you used to be somebody. You now exist in the world of you're nobody but trash. Most of the people in the shelter and the nonprofit. Your dignity, you check that at the door. And I've been trying to find solutions to help you guys find your dignity, your respect, and stay intact so you can move back out in the world. You get enough of this old world, you'll be ready to hit the travel trailer because you're best off on your own. You know, this day, after that experience out there 10 years, I can tell you one thing. I don't trust that many humans. I trust my own clients than I do most of my family. Because family is always the first to fail. They'll either do a good job or they do a bad. They don't care whether you're there or not. A lot of them are like that. It's just it's disintegrating integrity. You know, that we've lost a lot of our character, moral, and even personal standards. And so I find quite easily cats to be my thing. And that brings my last story before we go. So I'm going to tell you the old cat story and why I'm such a cat guy. And I told the story only once other in this channel, probably over a decade ago. When I visited Atlanta, Georgia, by proxy, being homeless, I was staying in a house in a really bad neighborhood. Okay. It was an abandoned house. It had Doberman or dog shit throughout it. So it smelled horrible, but it had a heater inside and the gas was still on. On their floor was old clothing and some styrofoam, not styrofoam, but the kind of stuff you have on a couch. And that's what I slept on. It was a 1-hour walk from there all the way to the Atlanta Union Mission homeless shelter. I still remember to this day. Winter hit and the temperatures dropped into the 20s. I became very sick and damn near died there. It wasn't for an old friend that I've known for almost 30 years now, over 30 years actually. But I got basically food poisoning from the homeless shelter, right? Quite perfect. So ill, couldn't eat, drink water. The temperatures were in the 20s, so I was freezing to death. You couldn't take a shower unless you were willing to get into water where you could literally see the cooling of the water in the air. Okay? That's when you wash about 5 inches at a time of your skin. Okay? Because the temperature is so close you get frostbite. So I thought I was gone. I thought I was going to die. And I thought I was very close to it at that point without food and water for nearly a week. And so one thing kept me going. And you know what it was? A cat. Cat kept coming. And it kept nudging my nose. Got a little wet nose in your face. So it gave me, I guess you'd think, it kind of gives you the will to live again, doesn't it? Because that cat kept coming and it gave me a reason to care about anything. Otherwise, I could have easily gone quietly that night. You know, I could have froze to death or I could have starved to death. Another 10 days of that, I probably would have died. But I was pretty close at that point, pretty weak in health. And that cat, for some unknown reason, just kept coming back. And so I finally decided, well, I appreciated that company so much. I wanted to get up. And then I forced myself. I took one dire upper, extremely ill, and I wobbled basically back into town. I walked for an hour in just death mode. Made it there, made it to a phone booth, and I prayed. Basically, the last change I had in my pocket was going to make a phone call to a friend, and he paid for that bus ticket back. I didn't eat the whole bus trip. I had no way to get money at that point, but I made it. I survived it. You fast forward here 50 years, a little over 50 years, 10 out there, 30 in my career. You think about that cat. So there was agreement with that cat. It saved mine, and here I am. A very simple but sweet story, right? I do it because I want to, and that's why it's not my house is not filled with dogs, because that cat breathed life into my situation, and for its appreciation, as a token of its appreciation, and for what it did during the most difficult point of my life, I'm going on to try to help as many as I can in terms of doing that. I took my experience overall, being out there, where a lot of people would have preferred to hook up with a crowd of people out in the woods and hit the old meth pipe and have beers. I first began my career sitting in the law libraries, reading through title and code, because I got tired of people at nonprofits and homeless shelters talking absolute shit to me, okay, including Section 8. I didn't believe what they were telling me, and I didn't believe all the gaslighting that you get. Through time and effort, I found out I could become a Section 8 consultant, a HUD consultant, through this very website. I armed that with a lot of legal information, and then once I tasted blood and was successful in the ability to get myself off the street, essentially, I became a HUD consultant, and from there, I've used this as an absolute weapon. Every year I got better. My mind was sharper. I got better. I no longer had clients as test dummies, and I went from an average consultant to absolutely destroying and defiling just about every PHA nonprofit and shelter out there that got involved in victimizing my clients. I mean, I went much farther than probably would have been legally required for an attorney to become one, studying code of federal regulation, policy, procedures. I mean, I literally I understood you couldn't trade pleasantries with these people because it's all a game. It's a rigged game. And so I made it my mission to find every loophole, every angle, and then how to weaponize this. And I became rather brutal at it because I learned that you couldn't get anywhere with these people. They don't want to hear you. So to this day, if you took out your grandma's Southwestern telephone book, about that thick, about 4 or 5 inches, my career on the amount of stuff I've read is about 2 million pages. Code, regulation, policies, handbooks, addressing more than that, probably a third of all the housing authorities in the United States. The average consultant that does this type of work, you'd be lucky if he gets his training and it ends there. You stack another 2 million pages and self-interest on that, and then you put a die-hard passion to burn the people that burned your ass. It made me one of the most effective consultants in the country. I'm not without, failure. I mean, I think my loss rate or failure rate in unusual cases, I think like last year we had 632 cases. I failed approximately 6 times to get people housing. 6 flipping times. You had better odds of getting housing through me than you did winning a scratch. That's for damn sure. In a lot of cases, ran much longer than I thought. But, I was also trying to consult during one of the most Difficult times in the country, dealing with a pandemic, inflation, hyperinflation, changing of policies, and look where we are today. We've got a lot going on. So hopefully that helps you connect who and what I am to what I've done for the last quarter of a century. But one thing I tell you is I have extreme low tolerance for bullshit. When people question me in my channel about my integrity or what gives me the fucking right to talk about anything, you better check yourself, because I will put your ass out of this channel. Okay? Don't ever play that game with me. You're not that smart. For the rest of you, it's been an absolute pleasure and an extreme honor to serve the homeless, an extreme honor and a big privilege to serve our veterans, those that are disabled. Okay? A lot of you guys are disabled. Think I don't understand that. My dad, while he was alive, was a quadriplegic. I think I'd understand what disability is at its most profound level. I also understand what it meant when that man went over there and worked for DOTT. He rolled in a wheelchair into the van that lifted him up and then dragged him out. We went through all these crazy routines, right? Back in the days when they didn't even have a handicap ramp, that you couldn't even get into a damn gas station because you could have a ramp. I know all about it. I also studied disability rights and looking at all the new policies, including 2008 disability. I know that extensively, and that also includes the understanding of how to compel housing authorities when you need accommodations. So you can't ever really question my integrity. I'm definitely better at my job than the vast majority, because I'm not clocking into anything. I'm clocking into what I am. I'm not worried about paychecks. I work for myself. And of course my staff works for me, but that's the core of it. You got the truth. How many people are willing to put their business in the street? I think that I've done enough. So I'm going to stop as of today explaining who I am and what the fuck I do. To be clear about that, I am not going to have people antagonize or question me in this channel that I have been paid nothing to do and have spent, 15 years trying to help people, and you two pay me $100, $200 a month for that? So, yeah. I'm one of those people. It matters. It sometimes matters when people do things like this flush shredding for me. Well, guys, I'm glad we got to share. We got story hour. We got my beach shirt and a leather jacket, right, and my shaved head. And talking about the Kikis, talking about the housing market, conceptualizing homelessness, family, the Frenchman, and tons of babies, dispelling prejudicial behavior, right? White folks have babies, right? Lots of them. So, I'm coming from everywhere with this. I'm trying to connect with you people in a genuine way. If you're too scared of that, then look, you go down to Bob and Delilah's fidget spinner channel. Today they're going to do fidget spinners. Tomorrow they're going to be a master expert with a PhD in Section 8, and they're going to give you some tips and tricks on how to bring a pizza and a can of pop to the housing authority and win you a good old voucher. Don't you love these channels? A lot of them, these are all fakes. None of these people are consultants. They know nothing about anything. All they do is copy me. I've not seen or identified legally not a single person on YouTube outside myself that's consultant. They're all frauds. They're frauds that make nickels and pennies off the ads they feed you in their ads. Of course, I do that too, but hell, I'm not even that successful at that. So, YouTube only usually throws me half of what the ads pay, and it usually ends up being $100. I'm not hit any big stroke of luck. If I was a teenager and spray painted my hair purple and rode my bicycle up a bridge, then I would have 1 million views and I could just quit working, right? I could make $1 million in a single video. But you talk about housing and Section 8 and helping the needy, it isn't worth shit. It isn't worth shit to YouTube or the general public. It's not entertaining. Shows you how our world is centered, right? I sit here and I struggled to get 60,000 on our channel over a long time, talking about a topic that's absolutely necessary to the life of people and housing, and I struggle with it. You got a 6-year-old with purple hair and a bicycle that can make $1 million on his videos, and YouTube rewards that shit. You see what I'm talking about? They reward that shit. That's where people's priorities are. We want a 3-second video because we have ADD and we want to watch stupid shit rather than deal with what the country's really going through, where our morals and ethics and our standards stand, and whether or not we help people die on the sidewalk isn't worth shit to YouTube. You see the battle I fight? It's not an easy one, but that's okay. I'll still keep fighting. I'll continue to do consults privately without a staff in my retirement until I die. I'll be 88 years old until I can't talk, walk, even if I got to do it from the nursing home. What else am I going to do? Because if we don't do something to help people on this planet, then we're all going to run the risk of dying alone and nobody giving a shit. That's my concern for all of you. While we're all worried about our big TVs and our $1,000 iPhones, we're going to watch people expire on sidewalks because they're not fit to fit in our community. They're not even drug addicts, but we see fit to put out nearly 2 million next year. Half of those are children. So should they die on the sidewalk too? So I know how I spend my time and energy. I'd spend it with gas station cats and people that are on the sidewalk that haven't had a shower in a month, that simply need somebody to give a shit. And then the last percentage of my time I spend dealing with people that are just ignorant bastards. Come on my channel and ask me what right I've got. Well, you have the right to fuck off. That's how I feel about that. I question your integrity. Anyways, it's been a pleasure. I'm going to post a video later tonight for open housing wait list for those that are interested. I hope you all have enjoyed it, and I understand that not everybody likes profanities, but I prefer to keep my own version of genuine, okay? Don't make me be something I'm not, and I won't do it to you. You show me the same respect, I'll show it to you, okay? I understand maybe not everybody practices profanity in their religion, but look, this isn't, I'm not God. I'm not here to judge, and I don't want you doing it to me either, okay? We all got our hang-ups. If we're going to do checks and balances, trust me, it wouldn't matter if you're sitting in church talking to Jesus. I'll find something wrong with you, okay? We all got problems. This is the way I want to convey my message, and I'm not going to be told differently, all right? Not going to do it different. I need to be able to speak to everybody. I need to be able to speak to the homeless prostitute. I need to speak to the recovering drug addict. I need to speak to grandma that I got nobody alive left. And if profanities, or even street talk is what achieves that, then that's exactly how I'm approaching this channel. Okay? This is not a goal where I need to look good or I need social acceptance. I don't give a shit about that, okay? Social acceptance is in the garbage can. I've already threw that out the window. We're going to do what's necessary to address people and deal with real life issues. And what I'm not going to do in the channel is I'm not going to have people act like they're going to issue me Michelin stars, okay? You don't get that option here. What you get to be is genuine, and I only want real people here. That's it. If you're not real and you're a soccer mom and your whole job is to be the judge and jury, then you go do it somewhere else. Don't do it in my channel. Please help us out. Just be who you are. Be original. I'll love you no matter what. The same way the church preaches the message, we got to stop judging. We got to, mind what you're doing in your life, but don't mind it so much so that you can't help people, okay? So next time you see an animal out there that's suffering or thrown out of a window, for God's sake, don't go think, oh, I think, well, that other person I just saw take care of it. Stop. Think about that. Last message here I'm going to say before this video closes is you own an animal. It's the one thing that won't judge you. Every day you walk in the door, it's not going to judge you. It ain't going to tell you how to talk properly. It's going to love you no matter what. Better than your own kids. It will love and enjoy and respect you. And often our pets are the last thing we consider. We literally treat our pets better than the homeless. And we don't do a good job even doing a lot of times with our own pets. By example, I wouldn't have had to GoFundMe. So think about during the holidays, maybe you could do more than just feed and water your cat. Try reciprocating. If you can manage that part, then you can reciprocate with people in the real world. Oh, that's not my job. I'll just give $3 to the shelter. Don't do that, because those frauds over there will just take the money and then give somebody some shit rags for clothes. They'll sell your Gucci purse you donated, okay? And then somebody that's riding that Benz behind the shelter will take your $3 and have a steak dinner with it. Stop all that. You want to help people? Walk up to a fucking person, look them in the eyes, and help them. You don't need to help the shelter. The government's already doing that. If it's up to me, I would banish all that shit. These shelters are a joke. The people that run it are horrible. A lot of these nonprofits are nothing but fraud. There's at least 80 cases right now, fraud. So we're pumping out billions into America, and we got nonprofits, people lining their pocket. We just had a lady, I made a video. This woman stole $1 million. She was burning $100,000 a month, and she's supposed to be feeding newborn babies and mothers that are homeless. But because nobody installed any software into her soul, this bitch was just crazy. And she ain't the first. We've had people that not own, but by election were installed in HUD over many decades that have gone in there and serviced them and their constituents and stole roughly half all the money. They're giving out contracts for shit that don't even make sense. Okay? So we're worried about, oh, my taxes are all paying by that person out there smoking crack. No, it's paying for the people we install in HUD that run it. It's paying for the nonprofits that have leather sofas, chandeliers, and a pop machine, but the front of there that has bulletproof glass can serve the shitty homeless. Well, give them a stale donut and a fucking number to somewhere else. Make them somebody else's problem. We only cash checks around here. We only like to accept money. We don't actually give it. You know how many times I've had nonprofits call me, oh, we love to accept and cash checks. Could you deal with these nasty homeless people? We don't want to do this shit here. Try to dump 50, 60 cases. I had a homeless shelter do that. Cases like, I don't even want to do my job. Look here, can you? No, but I will file an investigation with HUD to ensure your ass goes to federal prison and the people over there get indicted for absolute fraud and embezzlement. So, glory be to God, but it certainly is not in the homeless shelter or these nonprofits. There are some, in respect to God, to do a good job, but it's far in between. So just because they hang a cross and Our Lady of Jesus out there don't mean that anything in there is anything other than serving the devil. And then you ask me, what are my credentials? Well, I spent 10 years crossing through 30 homeless shelters across 11 states. What the fuck do I know, right? So now you see. We don't need to have a conversation about walking a mile in my shoes. I've already walked 10. Would you like to catch up? Anyways, I'm passionate, but passion is what makes you good. Passion is what will make you feel alive. And passion, my friends, is what will make you highly effective when you've got to help other people. So have a little passion. Get involved. Don't turn your eye. Don't wait for the next man. Don't assume the next man's going to do shit for the next person. You want to give money? Go out there, look that soul in his eyes and treat it like a fucking human and help it. And leave you a check you're jumping at home. They had an option. You did what you were called to do. You were called to do something in your heart. It don't matter if they're going to spend it on crack or a beer. It ain't your job to judge that. You're called to do something, go do it. Don't hand your money away and forget about it. Donating to shelters is like donating to the devil. Okay? All that clothes, half the staff steal the shit. Have you ever seen anybody out there on the streets that actually wear anything decent? There's a reason why. Almost going to sell it all, man. And they'll claim, oh, yeah, we're serving steak dinners. Really, you're serving pizza. 30 boxes of pizza were given to us a week ago and stuck in the cooler. I've seen all the games played. I don't trust any of that shit anymore. There are some organizations that run directly through churches. You put your money there. Put your money into something where it's actually literally connected to a church, then that's good and faithful. Okay? That being said, guys, I got to get out of here. I want to go see my cat. I mean, clearly she's alone. She's got a busted leg and a busted eardrum, and I need to get to that because that's what's important to me. But I want you, this is the last time I want to make myself clear about who and what and why. Okay? We have our information, our company information, even in my emails, I post federal, state, and county documents. Okay? So I'm not going to have anybody question me anymore. But it happens, it's an instant out the door you go. Okay? And if you slander me, I'll take it up and we'll meet in court and you'll find out what slander is. I'm going to shut that shit down around here. I've had enough of it. It doesn't happen a lot. It's just that how can I spend a quarter century doing something and then have to even answer stupid shit like that? Why? It's clear. We post even in our channel 16 links on the main page. And I deal with people that act like they got no brains. All right. Well, let me go. Let me go. I don't want to turn this into a bad video. I just wanted to share a whole lot today, I guess. It was on my heart. I wanted to share it all. So I'm gonna address the last few of you and tell you I'm sorry if I didn't get to your comments. I'm sorry if the video ended up going different directions, but I felt some things on my heart and I wanted to share them. So that's what I wanted to deliver. If I didn't answer your question, it wasn't on purpose. It just means I need to go see my cat. Okay. We'll try to revisit again, maybe later today or Monday morning, and we'll carry on. And I'm hoping for Thanksgiving week, we're going to bring positive messages to the channels. And I'm going to reduce the number of profanities, obviously. I can, because I want everybody to be able to enjoy a better life without being under stress or duress. And so I think it's quite appropriate. We bring a lot of positive activities to the channel next week and for Christmas week. But after that, hey, look, it's fair game. It's fair game. Because it's better you hear, we don't need to have everything sugar coated to deliver every message sugar coated. Okay. Sometimes we have to deal with life, but for the holidays, I'll cool it. Okay. But after that, it's fair game. We got a real world we have to live in, and we got to be able to make decisions based on reality, not what feels good. Okay. Feeling good don't fix anything. Understanding what the truth is and learning how to navigate around it to benefit yourself is what's important, not how you feel. All right. I'm wishing you a great day. Bye-bye for now.